The Jamie Dyer Show.
Delighted to be joined on the phone today by Ivo Graham, comedian, who is coming to Brighton very soon as part of the Brighton Fringe. How would you describe your comedy?
I might describe my comedy as polite, accessible, charming, frivolous, inconsequential, anecdotal stand-up comedy.
So only
Those enough?
Yes, I think so. That's a very good use of vocabulary. I take it's very wordy.
Well, that's pretty much all I've got, so I'm clinging to that. Use of vocabulary is very much the name of the game.
Well, definitely. You've got quite a good education backing you up on that, haven't you?
I do. I was privately educated, and I will never be allowed to forget it. Quite right, too. I went to an all-boys boarding school. I spent 10 years learning long words, and now I use them as much as possible in my career, even when they aren't required.
I see. Well, the show is called Educated Guess, and it's at the Comedian Studio very soon, on the 29th of May. Can you tell us a little bit about what the show's about?
Yes, well, the show's partly about what I've just sort of referred to. It's about going to an all-boys boarding school, specifically the famously unlikable Eton College for 5 years as a teenager. It's about what I learned there and how much it has set me in good stead for my adult life thus far. It's about going on the weakest link when I was 18 years old, which was one of the most exciting days of my life and one of the most disappointing. And it's about an attempt to learn every MP of the United Kingdom within about 2 months, which I managed to do last year, before it was then destroyed by a snap election, which meant I had to learn quite a lot of them all over again.
Well, I shouldn't think there's that many difference, only a couple of new seats and things.
There were more than I would have liked. As a man who'd spent quite a lot of time really sort of binding myself to the class of 2015, I was gutted at all the new ones. I was very loyal, very brand loyal to anyone who was essentially occupying a seat regardless of their party during the time that I learned them all. And then I would do quizzes of it in Edinburgh, and people would throw themselves into it. One audience member got very annoyed because I got Brighton Pavilion and Brighton Kemp Town confused, which I apologise for profusely.
Obviously, it's part of the Brighton Fringe. Have you done the Fringe before?
If I'm honest with you, I've either done the Brighton Fringe or the Brighton Comedy Festival before. I can't remember which one. I've got a lot of time for Brighton as a city. I love performing there, but I would happily perform there even if there wasn't a Fringe going on. Does that answer your question? I don't think I have.
Well, as I say, it's if it is the first time, then welcome. If it isn't, then it doesn't matter. You've said that Brighton is a good city, so that's the main thing.
I'm a huge fan. Are you a Brighton resident yourself?
No, I'm not. No, I live further down in Bognor Regis.
Oh, lovely. I did the Bognor Regis Yacht Club in my first year as a stand-up comic, and I don't think I was ready to play the Bognor Regis Yacht Club, but they were very forgiving.
That is good to know. How important do you think the Brighton Fringe is in terms of acts like yourself? I
think it's a very good thing to do, because I think the more cities that have these kind of comedy festivals and fringes, the more comedy is sort of promoted as a legitimate thing to sort of, for people, a legitimate way for people to spend their evenings. And I think fringes and festivals particularly encourage people to go and see maybe newer acts or people they haven't heard of, or maybe full shows by acts that they would otherwise only see doing 20 minutes at a weekend club like the Comedian. So I think I think they're very important for making people try sort of new things. If they sort of dominate a city's cultural landscape, a bit like the Leicester Comedy Festival does in Leicester, or the Brighton Fringe in Brighton, or obviously most famously the Edinburgh Fringe in August, then they attract a lot of attention, which comedy, I think, and touring comedy sometimes doesn't. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes complete sense. Obviously, you're doing this show. What after this show? What have you got coming up?
I will be continuing the tour on to its final date in my hometown of Swindon, where I will be performing to a mixture of my parents' friends. And then I will be concentrating all of my energies on writing my new show, which I will be taking to the Edinburgh Festival this summer. I will then take that on tour again next year, hopefully make another appearance at the Brighton Fringe, and the whole cycle will continue to repeat itself every year until death. And also, I'll probably be trying to do TV and radio appearances to promote myself, that sort of thing. Hopefully appear on Mocks a Week again, try and get on the news quiz, maybe appear in some sort of advertising campaign. Anything to fill the days.
Yes, can I ask you where you are at the moment? It sounds like you're in a canteen washing up.
Oh, really? I do apologise.
No.
I'm actually stirring some scrambled eggs in my kitchen, but I thought I'd got away with it. How much is it interfering with the sort of noise at your end?
No, it's quite all right. It's very phony. It's fine. I just wondered, it just kind of stirred images in my head of what was going on. I thought you were in some sort of canteen on a part-time job or something.
Well, you're not far off. It's not my part-time job, although the quality of these scrambled eggs, it really could be. I'm about to add a spring onion. But I do apologise for multitasking, and as I said, I hoped I'd got away with it. How about this? Hang on 1 second. Is that better?
Yes,
that's better line.
That's better. Yes, slightly better.
Can you still hear scraping?
I can, yeah, but it's fine. It's fine. This I'm liking
That's very
this.
good of you. The problem is, if I leave them now, as I'm sure you can imagine, they will burn. So they have to be stirred for another 20 seconds, otherwise the game is up. And I may as well have not begun the whole exercise to begin with.
Yes, I find, speaking to you for the last 10 minutes or so, you're quite well-mannered. Are you always like that, or is that just a stage thing?
No, I mean, I think it's important to try to be as much as possible. I mean, some people would argue that audibly making scrambled eggs while doing a phone interview isn't very well-mannered, but I think the very least I can do is do it and then apologise while I'm doing it. I was brought up to apologise at all times. I've also just realised that we don't have any spring onion, so these are going to be slightly less flavourful than I would have hoped, but never mind.
Nope, never mind.
Salt and pepper will have to do the heavy lifting today.
Yes, if anyone wanted to find out more about you, where would they need to go?
I've got a website which I update occasionally. I've got a Twitter account which I post occasional zany thoughts on. And I'm even committing increasingly hard to Instagram, where I post a photograph of me in a compromising position about once a week. So I think if you want to know what I'm doing, those are the places to go. I've got a newsletter as well, which I'm very proud of. You can sign up to that via my Twitter account. And I'll email you occasionally, but not too much. Don't bombard people. That's pretty much the extent of my interactive behaviour.
Now, if anyone was interested in coming to see you but weren't quite sure about coming, what would you say to them?
I'd say it's not too expensive. I'm a nice boy. You get to watch a clip of me being humiliated on the weakest link. And what the hell else are you going to do on a Tuesday night?
Well, that's fair enough. That's good by me.
Brilliant.
Yes, obviously your show, Educated Guess, is coming to the Comedian Studio on the 29th of May, and that's part of the Brighton Fringe Festival. Have you been to the Comedian before?
Yes, I've done solo shows at the Brighton Fringe, and I've done at the Comedian, and I've done the Crater Club on the weekends a bit, which is always a barrel of laughs. And I performed there with the Noise Next Door as part of their improvised comedy lock-in show. So I wouldn't describe myself as a comedian veteran, but I've certainly got a few stamps on the old loyalty card.
Well, you're about to stamp one more on there at the end of the month.
And the most important one yet.
Yes, indeed. You'll finally be able to know if you've performed at the Fringe or not.
Never again will I give an uncertain answer to that question.
Nope, that's right, as long as you remember it. How do you go? I always want to ask comedians this. How do you go about remembering everything? What's your process for remembering stuff?
Well, I think I try to write it down. I try to read it over and over again. But I think performing it is the best way to drill it into your head. So I think, when one's done a show a few times, like I have with this one at the Edinburgh Fringe and then in London and on tour, that's the toast ready. I find that, eventually it's pretty well bedded in there, but you do have to sort of reread your script every so often in between gigs just to make sure you haven't missed anything. Obviously, the main focus of my memory at the moment is trying to remember the names of every MP of the UK. But luckily, I've got an app on my phone called Quizlet, which I use to do that. It's a great flashcards learning app, and I would highly recommend it to anyone.
Well, good luck with remembering that, and I'm going to leave you now so that you can go and have your eggs and toast and things. And I'd like to say thank you very much for coming on today, Ivo Graham, and obviously good luck.
Not at all.
Good luck.
Who's your local MP?
Who's my local MP? Nick Gibb.
Nick Gibb.
Yes.
West Worthing?
No.
Oh, Oh, Bognor Regis and Littlehampton. Of
That's
course.
right. Yes, that's
Oh,
right.
I do apologise. You told me you're from Bognor Regis. That was the big clue.
Yes.
But you've got to have been impressed by me throwing in Littlehampton as well, at least.
Well, that's true. Yeah, not many people know about that place.
Yeah, well, it's the sort of uglier younger brother of Bognor Regis. That's what I'm saying.
We won't quote you on that.
You're absolutely welcome to.
Yeah.
I'd love to come back to the yacht club someday. Anyway, thank you very much for speaking to me.
Yes.
Sorry about cooking all the while.
Nope, that is quite all right. Thank you so much, and all the best for the gig on the 29th.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely afternoon.
Yeah.
The Jamie Dyer Show.